Hello and welcome to the first video on this channel, and it's going to be the start of a series of whiskey reviews. And we're going to start off hopefully with some kind of a tutorial in this video about tasting whiskey in general. And if you enjoy what you see here, you can subscribe, and we're going to go through a series of different whiskies that I haven't tried before mostly. And I'm just going to be reviewing them live on camera for you guys, talking about how I experienced them, and maybe you guys can share how you feel about them in the comment section, or maybe ask me to try your favourite whiskies. So starting out, we have a whiskey that I brought from my local Lidl supermarket, Whyte and Mackay, which you can get very cheaply here in England. In fact, I've already drunk like half the bottle here. I actually got this for £8 in Lidl, which is about $10, so that's extremely cheap. And it's obviously a blended scotch, and many people, especially when I started drinking whiskey, had some very negative things to say about blended whiskey. Now, I did some research into this after I heard all these naysayers explaining this, and once I tried some different types of whiskies, I actually started to believe that this wasn't necessarily true, that all blended whiskies were bad. In fact, if you look at Scotch whiskey, over 90% of all Scotch whiskies, like the industry in general, sold are actually blended whiskey. So, especially for Scotch whiskey, and indeed the whiskey industry in general, blended whiskies are literally the backbone of the whiskey industry, so they can't be that bad really. And indeed, if you look at the history of blended whiskey, it was one of the reasons that whiskey was popularized. So I think it could be a good thing, you know. We're going to find out in this video though. So here we have Whyte and Mackay. It's a blended Scotch whiskey. This one in particular is the triple matured for a smoother, richer taste. It's also won the International Spirits Challenge 2018. It got a gold. That's obviously the most up-to-date bottle because I believe it's won a bunch of competitions before that as well. So we're going to be taking a look at this, and one of the things you'll notice immediately is obviously this super dark colour of this whiskey. It's this beautiful mahogany caramel colour. Now this is kind of true for many Scotch whiskies. This colour is fake. I think it's E15. It's basically like an additive that they add in to make all of their whiskies have like a consistent range across the board. So what you see here isn't actually realistic. Now some people love and hate that. Personally, I think it's quite dishonest to have a coloured whiskey to the point of, like, you know, most whiskies get their colour, and I've got a few other bottles I could show you later of when they're matured being absorbed into the oak cask and then coming out and in of that oak, and then eventually they pick up that woody sort of colouring of the oak and it's natural, whereas this isn't natural. So it kind of lies about that this whiskey is older when it is definitely not as old as they want you to think it is. So clearly there's an element of intentional dishonesty there where, you know, let's taste it. Let's see what it tastes like, because that's the real test. So I've got here the whiskey, and you can see it's got that amazing colour. We're going to swirl it around a little bit. There's some different ways that people taste whiskey. Personally, I don't think there's a right way to smell it specifically. There are different ways. The right way can be very different for different people. For example, if you are starting out smelling a whiskey, then you are going to put your nose up here and you're just going to smell ethanol. You're just going to smell alcohol. And I can tell you that recently, because I mean, I haven't been doing this for that long. And initially I had to build up kind of a tolerance to the alcohol before I could really start to appreciate all the subtle notes that are inside a whiskey, let alone taste it. So I'll give you some tips in the video if you are starting out tasting a whiskey. But starting out, we're just going to smell it. So if I bring it up to my nose here, I can immediately, even just from down here, I can already smell this like rich kind of burnt caramel smell, which is quite pleasant. It's quite sweet actually. And all these fruity notes, so you sort of go around your nostrils here, kind of hit you. Very fruity. It's kind of like this apple sort of fruitiness to it, which is very pleasant actually. Green apples, but there's kind of like this sweet orange, I would say orange smell to it as well. And this whiskey is also triple matured in 3 different stages, and part of that maturing process is within a sherry barrel. So you're going to pick up those notes as well in this particular whiskey. Now, one tip if you're a new person here, a lot of people have come over from my main channel, which has over 1 million subscribers. Maybe they're trying whiskey for the first time, so I kind of want to include this within my sort of thought process when we're going through these whiskies, so you can kind of experience it. And I would say if you're like starting to try and smell a whiskey, hold it away from you and just smell it and try and get closer. And as soon as you get to the point where I can kind of put my nose in the glass now and smell, as soon as you get to the point where you get too close and you can smell alcohol though, then you kind of want to like come back a bit, and then that's kind of like the length you should be away from the glass to actually start to appreciate the flavors. Or another way, some people might cringe at this, so get some of the whiskey, put it in your hand, like so, and then put that in the palm of your hand and rub it around like that. Now, obviously, this is going to have a reaction with your skin, and if you've got perfume or whatnot on it, it won't work. But if your hands are relatively clean, as they should be, you can go like this. And you can start to kind of experience other flavors. I can get vanilla now, actually. And then if you come back to the glass again, you can smell that vanilla note now. And there's other things you can do, like biting on an apple and then, you know, tasting the apple and then putting this in your mouth and seeing, can I taste a similar note? Those are really good sort of methods on kind of trying to distinguish what those flavors actually are, because until you've pinpointed them, you'll never understand it. So let's actually taste this now and see what it tastes like. I think I've kind of understood everything I can from smelling it. So it's quite dry, actually. I usually like to drink it first, and then after that I like to swirl it around in my mouth because you get a different experience. But I would say this has like a sweet caramel orange sort of flavour to it, and you can actually get the green apples even more, and there's a sort of sour note to those green apples that kind of contrasts really well with the sweetness of it as well. This is actually quite impressive. I'm amazed at how much flavour there is in this, and I'm going to go back to it again. There's a slight nuttiness, like almonds in it as well, which is quite interesting. There's a lot more flavour in this than there is in other whiskies at the same price range, like Bell's or Grouse, and other similar brands I don't know if you have in America. In fact, if you're getting this in America, it'll probably be a bit more expensive as well, because you've got to import it from Scotland because it's a Scottish whiskey, and I live in the UK, so obviously there's always going to be a difference in price there. Sorry if you found the title misleading in that sense. But no, I actually really do like this. It's got this aftertaste where the vanilla comes out even more as well, which I think is kind of part of, I think that comes from the sherry cask, but I could be wrong there. When you do taste it though, there's this initial buzz of different flavours, all the flavours I've described to you already, but then those flavours kind of fall off a cliff and they kind of disappear, and you're left with this slight vanilla aftertaste, but it's nowhere near that of some of the single malts I've had, which have this taste that really lingers in your mouth, you know, like a while after you've had that whiskey, you know, until you brush your teeth at night, you can still sort of taste it. But this whiskey is impactful at the beginning, and when you smell it, it's loads of fruity flavours, quite enchanting really for the price range. It's incredible. So it's a really, really good value blend in that sense. But and especially compared to other whiskies at the price point. But I just feel like it falls off a cliff, and that's where you can pay a bit more and get, you know, better whiskies for your money with more of an experience there. But I would not knock this at all. I wouldn't say no to drinking this as like my cheap go-to budget whiskey at all. It's a very enjoyable one. So I don't have a rating system, but I mean, this is a very solid for the price point, and I wouldn't knock it. I'd recommend giving it a try. You've got nothing to lose. It's that cheap. So I can link somewhere you can buy it in the description below. But honestly, the cheapest place to find this seems to be a local supermarket. I got it from Lidl, and it was only £8. Most people seem to be picking it up for around 15 online, so that's double the price. So just go and look around whenever you see it on offer at your local supermarket, and that's when I recommend picking it up for yourself. But another tip to some people who want to open up the flavors, maybe you're just starting whiskey drinking for the first time, what I recommend doing, get yourself a teaspoon. We don't have to be posh here, you know. And we're just going to put like a few teaspoons, just a couple to start off with. And you'll see that kind of like reacting with the whiskey. Let me just see if that focuses okay. Yeah, there we go. We can see very carefully there. You can see that sort of like fuzziness to the whiskey. That's the water reacting to the alcohol there. And we've kind of just put that down to about 35% now from 40. So now we go back again and nose it. Oh my god, the vanilla notes are you can just smell vanilla immediately. It's so much, you can pick it up way more than you could when it had 5% more alcohol in. And again, you get those vanilla notes. It's got this delicate fruitiness to it now. Very enjoyable, actually. Watered down, though I do like the impactful heat that comes with not watering it down. So I wouldn't do it personally, but it does open up different flavors to you. And if you're getting into whiskey, what I did personally is I kept drinking it, but I would water it down quite a bit, so I'm sorry to say, so I could palate it, so I could drink it, so I could understand it. And now I'm kind of at the level where I feel like I can appreciate a whiskey. And my friend even, who works in Whyte, even brought over a 60% one, which was amazing because we kept adding a little bit of water to it and it just changed every single time. And it was, you know, a magical experience. So honestly, don't knock just putting a bit of water in it to understand it a bit better, for sure. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did, please subscribe, press the bell icon, then YouTube will let you know when the next whiskey video is out. If you have any thoughts or experiences of you trying this whiskey, I would love to know in the comments section if I missed anything, if you got something different. And I like to go back to things, and you know, I'm still learning, so I'm going to be totally upfront. I just wanted to make this channel to kind of encourage myself to drink some whiskey, talk about it and understand it more, and hopefully share that experience and journey with you guys. And that is really what this is about. So subscribe if you're interested in following me on that journey. And guys, I've also got an Instagram account attached to this channel, so you can check that out below as well. And I'll be sharing my educational whiskey facts with you, and you can follow along and just, you know, enjoy that general dialogue. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and cheers. I will see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. Goodbye.